For thousands of years, humanity has trusted one institution above all others to manage the lifeblood of civilization: money. Kings minted coins, bankers issued credit, central banks set interest rates. The system was flawed, corrupt, and often crashed spectacularly. But it was always human. Decisions about who gets capital, which industries grow, and how wealth flows through society were made by people you could name, question, or remove from power. That era is ending. Right now, in the quiet corridors of central banks and the data centers of Wall Street, a new kind of intelligence is taking control, not through revolution or decree, but through demonstrated superiority. And most people have no idea it's happening. Let's set the stage. The global financial system moves $7 trillion every day through networks that humans can barely comprehend. Stock markets react in milliseconds. Currency values shift before traders finish their coffee. Supply chains stretch across continents, and inflation data arrives weeks too late to matter. For decades, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and their counterparts worldwide have tried to manage this complexity with meetings, votes, and policies based on information that's already obsolete by the time they act. They're flying blind, making trillion-dollar decisions with weather reports from 2 weeks ago. Now imagine a system that doesn't need to wait, one that processes shipping data, credit card transactions, social media sentiment, and corporate earnings calls simultaneously and instantly. A system that doesn't sleep, doesn't face political pressure, and doesn't fear voters. That system isn't theoretical. It's already managing trillions of dollars, and the leap from Wall Street to central banks is no longer a leap at all. The technology exists today, and it's already proven. JP Morgan Chase operates a system called LOXM, an AI trained through reinforcement learning, the same technique that taught machines to master chess and Go. LOXM executes massive stock trades with minimal market impact, optimizing in ways human traders never could. Goldman Sachs processes terabytes of market data daily, identifying patterns and opportunities faster than any human team. Citadel runs high-frequency trading algorithms that make thousands of decisions per second, all autonomous, all profitable. But the most revealing example is BlackRock's Aladdin platform, which manages over $21 trillion in assets. That's more than the GDP of every country on Earth except the United States and China. Aladdin runs stress tests, analyzes systemic risk, and optimizes portfolios across global markets using AI models. If you step back and look at what Aladdin does, it's essentially what a central bank does for an entire economy: monitor risk, allocate capital, and maintain stability. The infrastructure is there. The technology is deployed. The only question is when, not if, it moves from Wall Street to the institutions that control monetary policy itself. Understanding how this works requires understanding what a central bank actually does. Think of an economy as a vast interconnected garden, where every plant represents a business, a household, or a government program. The central bank is the groundskeeper, and its only tool is a giant sprinkler system representing interest rates and the money supply. If the groundskeeper turns the water on too much, the garden floods, which is inflation. If he doesn't turn it on enough, everything withers, which is recession. The problem is that the groundskeeper is making decisions based on data that's already weeks or months old. By the time employment numbers are released, businesses have already hired or laid off workers. GDP figures get revised 3 times after initial reports. Central bankers are essentially watering a garden they can barely see, hoping their adjustments work before conditions change again. Now replace that blind groundskeeper with a system that has live satellite feeds, moisture sensors in every patch of soil, and predictive models that know a drought is coming before the plants even feel thirsty. That's what AI offers central banking: real-time vision, superhuman optimization, and the ability to test policies in simulated economies before implementing them in the real world. The technical capabilities are staggering. Machine learning models can process satellite imagery of shipping ports to track real-time economic activity. They analyze credit card transaction data to measure consumer spending before official statistics are published. The European Central Bank is already using this for what they call nowcasting, predicting current inflation rates before government agencies can calculate them. Then there's reinforcement learning, where AI systems are trained to act as central bankers by running millions of economic simulations. Researchers set up virtual economies, give the AI different policy tools, and let it learn from success and failure across scenarios that would take human policymakers centuries to experience. The results are striking. Studies show that AI-driven monetary policy reduces central bank losses by more than 40% compared to traditional approaches. Transformer models, the same architecture behind systems like ChatGPT, can read and understand not just numbers but narrative. They parse every earnings call, every news article, every central bank speech globally and in real time, detecting anxiety about supply chains in corporate reports 6 months before it shows up in official inflation data. Multi-agent systems go even further, creating digital twins of entire economies where millions of AI agents represent households, firms, and banks, allowing policymakers to test interventions before deploying them. These aren't experimental prototypes. These are deployed technologies managing real capital right now, but AI cannot manage an economy it cannot directly control, which is where central bank digital currencies enter the picture. A CBDC is not cryptocurrency, and not commercial bank money. It's government-issued digital cash on a distributed ledger, controlled directly by the central bank. Think of it as replacing that old centralized sprinkler system with a network of microscopic smart droppers that can deliver precise amounts of water to every single plant, or even individual leaves. It's the ultimate tool for an ultimate gardener. Over 130 countries, representing 98% of global GDP, are developing these systems right now. China's digital yuan has already processed nearly $1 trillion in transactions. India's e-rupee is expanding. The rails are going live, while most people scroll through social media, unaware that the financial infrastructure of the future is being installed beneath their feet. What makes CBDCs revolutionary is that they're programmable. In today's system, if the Federal Reserve wants to cut interest rates, it's a slow multi-step process through commercial banks. With a CBDC, a central bank can execute policy directly on every digital wallet in the country, instantly and automatically. Want to issue stimulus payments that expire in 30 days to force spending? Program it. Want to implement negative interest rates by making idle cash slowly lose value? One line of code. Want to prevent capital flight during a crisis by restricting cross-border payments? The system can do that too. An AI central bank with CBDC infrastructure would have a god's-eye view of every transaction in real time and the power to execute policy at the speed of light. This isn't speculation about a distant future. The infrastructure is being built right now, in 2024 and 2025, for deployment by 2027 and beyond. The Bank for International Settlements, the central bank for central banks, just issued a warning that the tools needed to build AI-driven monetary systems are controlled by maybe 5 companies: Google, Microsoft, Amazon, NVIDIA, and Anthropic. 5 corporations control the computational infrastructure that could run the entire global economy. The Federal Reserve is already using generative AI to analyze meeting transcripts and forecast economic conditions. The European Central Bank is using machine learning for inflation prediction. The Bank of Japan is deploying AI to track price changes from raw materials to labor costs across the entire economy. The technology isn't coming, it's here, and the geopolitical race is accelerating. China views its digital yuan as a strategic weapon to challenge dollar dominance. The United States has launched a chip war, imposing export controls to cut off China's access to the advanced semiconductors needed for AI development. The European Union is building regulatory walls around data and AI governance. Former Federal Reserve officials warn that central bank independence requires transparency and accountability, but AI systems are black boxes. You can't cross-examine an algorithm. You can't demand an explanation from a trillion-parameter neural network. The people who understand this technology best are the ones sounding the alarm. Geoffrey Hinton, often called the godfather of AI, quit his position at Google not to retire but to warn the world about systems we might build and then lose the ability to control. So that's where we are in 2025. The technology exists. It's deployed. It's managing trillions. The infrastructure for AI-controlled central banking through CBDCs is being built right now. The geopolitical race is on. But what does this actually look like when it's fully operational? What are the possible futures? That's not speculation. Researchers have modeled it. Game theorists have analyzed it. And the scenarios range from unprecedented prosperity to systemic collapse, with most outcomes landing somewhere between those extremes. That's what we explore next, because the choices made in the next 3 years will determine whether this technology becomes a tool for human flourishing or the architecture of control that future generations cannot escape. The sentient ledger is being written in algorithm code and central bank policy papers while most of the world watches other headlines. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but the patterns are always there, and if you know where to look, you can see them forming right now. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe. We're tracking the collision of money, power, and machines. Part 2 drops next, where we walk through 4 possible futures and show you exactly what your life looks like in each one. This is Abyssinia, where tomorrow's consequences meet today's decisions.